Welcome to There Is a Method to the Madness. My name is Rob Maxwell, and I'm an exercise physiologist and personal trainer. I'm the owner of Maxwell's Fitness Programs, and I've been in business for the past 28 years. All right, so speaking of long streaks, I want to talk a little bit about one here today, and then we're going to roll that into the topic at hand. I did the Easter Beach Run this past Saturday. And I wasn't planning on doing the Easter Beach Run. For those that live around here in Daytona Beach area and run and all that, they know that, it's not the most ideal of races for reasons of tide, because it's on the beach, which is what the Easter Beach Run is. And it's hot because it's usually at a later time of day, and this one was at 11 a.m., so it was pretty hot. Not complaining. It's a great race. It's a fun race. I'm just saying that I usually I don't always plan on doing it, but this year was definitely special. The Friday before, I was training a longtime client, Mary Hughes, who is the widow of Reed Hughes, who passed the last July, and she was telling me how they were all going to be there, his family, Reed's family, and they were going to be wearing shirts in his honor. And there was going to be like 20 of them, because for those that don't know, Reed had actually run in 51 consecutive Easter Beach runs. 51. That's pretty impressive. As far as I know, that's a record, and it was since its inception. They announced his 51 years over the loudspeaker and all that, and it was pretty cool. And so when Mary told me that they were going to be there, I was absolutely going to be there. Reed was a dear client and friend for many years, and he always wore my Max Fit t-shirts to the races, always. I have pictures hanging up of him at the gym with them on. He wore them a lot from what I understand, but he always wore them to the races. And that's just pretty awesome. He always wanted to try to advertise for me, and it was so cool. I love looking at the pictures of him. So there was no way I was going to miss it. So we ran the Easter Beach Run and kind of ran it in Reed's honor, and it's cool. And again, so the streak is 51 years. That's pretty damn impressive. And that got me thinking about today's topic, or that led me to today's topic, which is about finding your sport. And finding your sport takes care of so many of the other concerns you might have with physical fitness. When I was in college and graduate school, my professors, Dr. Roeder and Mr. Gergley, used to preach it all the time. They practiced what they preached, and they both were phenomenal athletes themselves. And they defined athletes as basically people that just want to better the sport they choose. And they always said, we are all athletes. And they really pushed that into us, teaching that to everybody else. We are all athletes. We don't need to make athletes out to be these superhuman creatures. There's no question that professional athletes are set above us in whatever they're doing. I mean, there's no doubt. I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying that we are all athletes in our own right. And again, that was really pushed on us, and I believe it. And Roeder and Gergley were phenomenal role models for me. And so that, and talking about Reed Hughes' streak, I really want to talk about that, about finding your sport and not having to worry so much about the other things regarding fitness, like body weight and all that, because they kind of take care of themselves. And I know I say all the time, it's diet when it comes to weight loss, and that's true. But when you are training for something, you don't want to eat like crap, because you understand how the food itself dictates your training. You just start to get a shift. So Reed was a runner, and he ran. He passed in his 90s. He was running in his late 80s. And let me tell you, he was always winning his age groups. He was an athlete, and Reed was lean. He had phenomenal legs. He always stayed in shape. I never saw him even a little bit overweight in all the years I knew him, which was probably 30 or more years. Never saw him overweight. His widow, again, Mary, same thing. She's an athlete. She plays tennis. She still plays tennis. She loves to play tennis. She's an athlete. I've never seen her battle weight. I mean, everybody, including myself, sometimes says, oh, I need to drop a few pounds, I mean, that's normal. That's just human nature. We're never going to be 100% content with ourselves. And you know what? Maybe that's not such a bad thing. But I can pick any sport, and I just want to really get you to fall in love with a sport. Because when you do, a lot of the other things start to fall into place for you. I don't care if it's surfing. I don't care if it's tennis. I don't care if it's running, triathlon, bodybuilding, CrossFit, rowing, crew, all that good stuff, swimming, cycling. When you pick a sport and you really strive to be your absolute best at it, which is a good thing, an absolute good thing, competition can be very, very healthy, especially when you're competing against yourself. We can go back to the very, very, very earliest of philosophers, and they talked about having a good physical habit, making you a better, more complete person. What better way to do that than to pick a sport and attempt to master it? It's going to make you more fit just by the nature of it. So if you choose to pick 5K, 4-mile distances as a runner, a distance runner like Reed did, again, I never saw him out of shape his entire life. And I don't know, maybe he started training with me in his late 60s, and I know he'd been running for decades before that. Yes, he worked out. Yes, he did weights. That's important. I'm saying it's all important, but what I'm saying is, if you asked him what his sport was, and when they talked about it at his service, and they talk about it at the Easter Beach Run, he's a runner. He was a runner. So because he's a runner, he doesn't want to eat crappy foods. It doesn't mean that athletes don't splurge here and there. It's that they've changed their whole mindset into eating for fuel and possibly rewarding here or there. But they don't want to gorge themselves because we feel like crap. They don't want to eat toxic foods because we feel like crap. It's just this big shift. Now, I myself have done many sports, my adult life, my late teen life. I would say the ones that, I was a competitive athlete at. I mean, sure, I played all the things that, people try to play, like softball and kickball in those leagues. I'm not really talking about that. I never really was that good at those kinds of things. As far as, bat and ball or those style sports, I played tennis in high school and a little bit after high school, and I was very competitive there. But then after that, I got into bodybuilding, and I was, competitive bodybuilding. And even if I gained a little bit of weight, because, in bodybuilding, you put on a little weight, you put on muscle, I never got out of shape. And you weren't going to see me being like a Slurpee guy, a Big Gulp guy, and a Doritos guy, even in the quote off season, because I didn't want to feel like crap. That wasn't going to fuel my muscles. It wasn't going to happen. Could I gain a little weight here or there? Sure. But I didn't eat like crap. And I never got out of shape. I stayed in shape from the time I lost weight as a teenager. I've always stayed in shape. I always pick a sport. And because I pick a sport, I'm typically eating well all of the time. I would say now in my 50s, I probably eat better than I ever have because I've learned more. I've gone more plant-based, and that really works for me. I look more at ingredients. I look to make sure that, like, what I'm eating, what does it eat? Is it eating good soil or bad soil? So I would say that I've actually improved my eating, but I didn't eat bad before that. So after bodybuilding, I got more into triathlons in college, and I got into running. that was more my sport. And I got competitive at it, you know. I won an Olympic gold. I'm really, really kidding. I'm seeing if you're paying attention. Competitive again to me was making myself better, trying to compete in my age group, not because it is an Olympic gold. I'm very well aware it's not. But what it does do is it makes me try to be better. So the most important person to compete against was myself, and I would. And I would care. I'd really want to try to be better. I would be like, well, gosh, I'm not running as good as I think I can, or whatever. You know, we can all beat ourselves up a little, but the fact was I wanted to get better. So I didn't eat like crap because I wanted the fuel. Now, it's not just about eating right when we become athletic. We also start to do all the other things because, again, we want to be better. So I came from a bodybuilding background, so I already had more muscle mass, and a lot of that's genetic, than some of my counterparts that did triathlon and running. Although some of those dudes are big, so, you know, one size doesn't fit all when it comes to that sport, which is pretty cool. But I still didn't back away from the weight training because the weight training was going to make me a better athlete. It was going to help with my muscle imbalances. It was going to help me not get injured. It was going to help me feel good about myself. So even though I was doing a lot of swimming, a lot of running, and a lot of biking, I still lifted weights or strength trained because it was good for me. Did I do it, you know, because I needed to? I did it because I wanted to, because it's part of the game. And then I also incorporated in some flexibility and range of motion training because I wanted to be better. So look at that. Because I'm doing a sport, I eat right, I strength train, and I do flexibility. I mean, see, do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? If you find a sport, it's going to take care of a lot of the other things. And so now in my mid-50s, I try to do a little bit of both. So I do some running. I like to do duathlon, triathlon. I still love to lift. I did some master's bodybuilding a year ago. I like to do it all because it kind of all does tie in together for me. I don't do super heavy lifting like powerlifting and all that, although I have, but I don't do that. So all the things I do kind of like complement each other. They absolutely complement each other. And I also play some tennis here or there. I like to get back to that. I've tried golf. I absolutely suck. But hey, golf can be a great sport as well. So now that I do all of that, you know, I really think about, man, I got to eat this because I need to recover properly. You know, I don't want to eat like crappy food and then not recover well. So I definitely make sure that I still eat well. So any sport we pick, again, tennis, running, crew, cycling, golf, any of it is going to make us really try to do things better without consciously having to work so hard to do it. And a lot of people I talk to say, you know, I do this because I love it and it doesn't feel like exercising. That's great. I mean, it's a great reason. You know, you're going out and doing something. So many people go to Masters Swim and they'll put in an hour to 90 minutes of really intense swimming in the swim lanes that they wouldn't have done if they didn't have their friends there swimming beside them. I mean, when people go out on group bicycle rides, when they're training for bike races or triathlons, they're meeting 10, 5, whatever, 20 people. They're going distances they wouldn't do if they weren't training for something. They're pushing themselves harder that they wouldn't push by themselves if they weren't training for something. Same goes for running when running groups get together. The Galloway group is a group that trains for marathons, and they do a technique where you run the majority of it but walk some. It's a great group. They get together and they're training for something. I don't know, 30, 40 people start out, 30, 40 people 6 months later are running a marathon or a half marathon. And they all start out together, different levels of course, but what I mean is there's big groups, they talk, they run, they do their thing, that they probably wouldn't do nearly that much cardio. Well, I mean, why would they if they weren't training for a goal? So you can see where training for something helps you get your exercise in and you don't even realize you're exercising. I mean, think about it. Running is a sport and running is cardio. I mean, So if you're training for something, you're getting in so much more cardio than you realize, or you would have done if somebody just said, you need to do 30 minutes 3 times a week. I mean, that's great. That's not a bad plan. What I'm saying is, you don't even think about it when you start training for something. You go out and play tennis, you get lost in a match, you get lost in, playing with your friends. You might be out there 2 or 3 hours. I mean, that's awesome. You go cycling, and those group rides can be really long. I mean, you can be out there 2.5, 3 hours. Again, master swim, 60 to 90 minutes, depending on when you jump out of the pool. These are all ways that we train. We don't even realize we're getting our, quote, cardio in. So something to think about. I just want to encourage you to find a sport if you haven't. And if you do have a sport, think about a goal. Think about something that'll push you a little further. I promise you, if you do that, you'll naturally start eating better because you want to feel better. You'll naturally start doing the other aspects of fitness that you might neglect because you want to be better. All right? So with that, I want to thank our sponsors, Jonathan and Lynn Gilden of the Gilden Group at Realty Pros. They're phenomenal. Now is the best time to start selling and listing your house. And if you're looking for something, they can help you find it. So please give Jonathan and Lynn Gilden a shout. They can be reached at thegildengroup.com. Until next time, find your sport, think about it, and be max fit and be max well.